Hey, upcoming events, if you'd like to train with James or me or both, we'll have an externship, an ICEEFT externship, Indianapolis, Indiana, July 9th through the 12th, 2025. Should be a small, intimate externship with a new, vibrant EFT community. Great leadership there. This is going to be a collaboration between Arkansas and Indiana. So you can register there, arkansaseft.com/Indianapolis. Or you could attend, if your schedule allows, the Arkansas externship, which is July 29th through August 1st. Both of these trainings are in person. Both these are ICEEFT externships. Arkansas will be a bigger externship. George Fowler, James, myself. This is kind of our homecoming and our think tank. So we'd love to see you at either place. To register in Arkansas, it's arkansaseft.com.
All right, and I want to talk about one coming up. It's a big one, the first one for us, the SV Focus Lab. And what that's going to be is a time where the whole SV team is going to come together to share some of the new cutting-edge ideas we're working on, and also to talk about ways to help you practice getting really focused in your work. So that will be September the 11th through the 13th. So that while there's a lot of learning, we also want to build in some fun time to get to meet people and hang out. So once again, we love to have you. That will be here in Arkansas in person, but also in hybrid form. So if you can't make it physically in person, you can also go register online at successandvulnerability.com. And we'd love to have you whether on internet or in person. Thank you so much.
All right. What makes EFT really tick? It's the use of self. It's a therapist showing up in an authentic, heartfelt way, right at the right time, in the right space, at the right depth. So, today's topic, listening and utilizing your instincts in session.
Welcome to the Leading Edge in Emotionally Focused Therapy with your hosts, Dr. James Hawkins and Dr. Ryan Rana. EFT is a dynamic model that humbles even the most seasoned therapists. Together, we want to come alongside you as you continually push the leading edge of your understanding and application of this wonderful model developed by Dr. Sue Johnson.
Hey, welcome back, everyone. Excited to get into this topic today. That was James's idea, and it should be your idea because you're one of the best in the world at this. I really respect how you do this. Okay. I learned from watching you. You have 2 or 3 little moves. I don't mean to call them little things that you do that have a big impact, and I watch them, and I'm like, I'm not so good at that. So this is one of them. So I'm looking forward to learning from you today. So listening. That's an important thing we should consider.
That's right.
Actually listening. And then utilizing your instincts in session. Love that word, instincts.
Yep.
So talk about what you mean by that, and let's get into it.
Wow. Thank you, Ryan. One, I want to thank you. You kind of, it's so funny. Like EFT is a model of attachment that's best learned in attachment. Because I didn't realize what I was doing until Ryan got to watch some of my tapes with me. He pointed out some things. I'm like, whoa. I didn't know I was doing that. Then the moment he pointed it out, I'm like, I'm going to use that to the nth degree then. If that's what's naturally happening in me, then I need to tune in and use and fine tune that tool. So part of when I'm saying instinct, you all, it goes back to even me, George, and Ryan. There's like a combined definition of emotion I use, at least with all of us. That emotion is just your body's way of trying to get your attention so you can put out a clear signal so you can get an attuned response. The reason why that definition matters here to me is if my client and I'm doing my job and I'm inviting them to tune into the signal, I need to make sure I catch it and let it hit me so I can then be with them. But then here's the other part to it, Ryan, getting into specifically. If my body starts having a reaction in session, it's trying to get my attention for a reason too. And if I'm attuned to them, it's trying to say, hey, James, something's happening there. Capture it, look at it, understand it. And so this is a big thing. Me and Chad do the self-a-therapist training, learning how to listen to you. One more story. And this really is the one that it's like the attachment story that keeps coming up in my mind around this. But it was when George came here to Arkansas, we were doing core skills. We were all in a U shape. And I would ask George, I would raise my hand and ask George a question. And as a withdrawer, you would think I would have learned not to do that. Because every time George would say, great idea, James, run it now. And what I realized George was doing to me in that moment was he was trying to teach me to listen to my own thoughts and to my own body. and to not, like, in a way, to listen to it and evaluate it. So he would have me run it, and he would say, how did that go for you, James? How do you think that would land for the client? And I would think about it. And if something was off, he's like, great. And how would your body adjust it now? Good. And if it went well, he was like, good. And now what's going to be your next move? And what I recognized in every rep, every time he was doing, he's teaching me to go inside first before I even did something externally with the client. And so that's become a rhythm for me now. And someone asked me just the other day, and it kind of made me emotional in front of the group, Ryan. They were like, can you explain what's happening to you, James, inside the session that's informing you? Because you move so intuitively. I said, yeah, thanks. And it goes back to this. I've learned to trust now that if I'm attuned with them, my body's going to be speaking to me, and it's going to be talking to me. So I'm going to have a somatic kind of information. This is kind of going back to Magda Arnold stuff, by the way, you all. Magda Arnold would say there's going to be a cue, and your first appraisal is going to be to feel it. So I let my body go ahead and feel it because it's trying to tell me something. Then I let it run through my body up into my brain, and my brain tries to process it, understand it, and think about, okay, what does this mean right here? Where is this going to take us if I go this option? If I don't engage, what's going to happen? So I make my feeling appraisal, I make my cognitive appraisal, and then that leads me right to my next choice that I'm going to do. And then once I do that set of interventions, I'm going to go right back to that same process because the client's body is going to cue me in again. I'm going to feel it. I'm going to think about it, and then I'm going to do something. And that's my rhythm of doing EFT work as I work through all the tingle moves. And that's what's going to be loaded, and all that's going to inform me and guide me towards the enactment. And one last thing, I'm going to turn it back over to you, Ryan. And why I also wanted to do this podcast was so many therapists were like, but James, I was not taught to use to trust my intuition or to trust my instincts. In a way, I was almost trained to push that part of me out. And for us, it's like, how do you do that though? If we're telling our clients this is how it works with them, that they've got to be able to feel what they've got to tune into the music so they can put out a clear signal, then how can it not work that way for us as therapists? We've got to tune into the signals in our own body because they're trying to guide us in the work we're doing, and they have incredible wisdom when we're attuned to the client. So that's kind of like the floor plan for me.
Okay. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Good stuff right there. So much I could comment on. And I think it's a paradox because it's so easy to miss, right? I mean, most of us would say, yes, use yourself. The therapist's body is a resource. From an attachment standpoint, what you're calling instincts is attachment.
That's right.
Like your body
That's right.
knows attachment as well. And yet it's one of the most common things that I see missed when the pressure hits, even in my own sessions.
Yep. Same here.
And I'm supposed to be good at this in theory. And I'll even be in a role play sometimes demonstrating. I remember I was in Dallas one time and this is such a good reminder. I was trying to do a ditch enactment, if you know what that is. Yeah. And I looked up and I had not done any reflection validation, which is so typical. Like if you're going somewhere, then you're not where you are. Yeah. And so this is the ultimate call to here and now presence, kind of what you're saying.
Yep, 100%, Ryan.
Tell me a little bit more about how you got this, because you kind of alluded to it.
So there was a George one. Some of you probably have heard my, I call it the Ryan Memphis story. People like when I tell it in trainings. But I'll tell you, so part of the story, when I was a brand new trainer in training, Ryan and I went over to Memphis to train. And all of a sudden I get a call up to my hotel room, and Ryan's like, can you come downstairs so we can talk about the live tomorrow? And what I appreciated in his speech was Ryan was kind of like, hey, James, when you're grounded and you're present, you are really good. And I wonder what it would take for you just to show up as James in that session and not be worried about making anything happen, just to let yourself be James in the session. And so that's a big thing. So even when I go into lives now, Ryan, I'm still saying, like, don't worry about making them do anything. This is kind of like taken from the quote from Carl Rogers. Just allow your nervous system, James, to link up with the client. And what I trust in me, so I'm giving away my secret to you all. I trust that if I can let my nervous system link up with my clients, it will take me to where I need to be with them. It doesn't guarantee everything's going to be pretty, but I have a higher likelihood of success when I allow my nervous system to link up with theirs. I don't know, the way I kind of almost think about it is like a data transfer cable. Like in the old day, like if you put two cables together, then the computers could kind of speak to each other and share and transfer data. I need to link up with my client's nervous system, because then their nervous system will start sending me data to my nervous system that will help me in pacing, choices, depth. It helps me get clarity for my enactments. So that, I guess, I don't know if that's answering it, but that's, for me, the foundation of it.
That's good stuff. I'm writing down gold nuggets here.
I like nuggets.
I want to do a qualifier.
Go ahead.
Not a but.
No, go ahead.
But a qualifier. And I want to talk about one of my favorite quotes from one of my favorite movies. There's my teaser. We'll get to that after this commercial.
So, yeah, we want to take time and just give a shout out to ICEEFT. ICEEFT is the host kind of organization for EFT. It's the International Center for Excellence in Emotionally Focused Therapy. And we want to encourage you to look up that website, to possibly become a member, to go there and find out about all the resources and trainings about EFT that are happening all around the world all the time. You can have an annual membership. You can also get a lifetime membership. And what comes with that is you get listed on the ICEEFT website as someone when you're trained in EFT. Also, you get discounts on memberships. And for example, we have the summit coming up in May 27. It'll be the EFT summit, and it's going to be in Vancouver, Canada. So that's kind of cool. The European trainers did a phenomenal job putting it on last year. Was that last year? Everything's flowing so fast in Belgium. So once again, we want to encourage, be a member of ICEEFT, find out about all the resources and things that are available to you at ICEEFT.com. That's ICEEFT.com.
All right, welcome back. My favorite movie. I know that's what everybody's dying to hear about. I'm a big Denzel Washington fan. I used to watch this movie a lot. If I like a movie, I'll watch it sometimes 15 times. My wife is not like that, but I know all the lines. But Man on Fire. It's a good movie. Good movie. A little violent at the end. But one scene, for some reason, it catches my attention. So Denzel is a bodyguard. He's in, I believe it's Mexico City. They've been having trouble with kidnappings, and he's guarding this little girl. She's like, I don't know, 9. And he's a special forces retired, like soldier. And so they just kind of hit up this relationship. It's kind of cute, kind of a father-daughter kind of a dynamic there. And she's a competitive swimmer, but she keeps losing. And she's real fast in the water. This is ridiculous how much detail I know about a movie. She's really fast once she's in the water, but she hesitates off the block. Okay? So it goes to this scene where he's kind of using military tactics to teach her to get to a faster start. And she keeps saying, well, I'm going to try, and I'm going to try, and I'm going to try. And he goes, there's no try. You're either trained or you're not. And so he practices with sounds, and he claps bricks, and he tries to basically desensitize her and like sync up her body to where it's like a limbic, kind of like EFT, as opposed to trying hard. So I say all that to say, what you're saying is said a lot in psychotherapy. Like, don't have a plan, just go with it, or just use your body, just trust. And my answer to that is it depends on how trained you are.
That's right.
Right? And so, and I mean that word in all the ways. Have you done your own therapy? How is your body's relationship with your father, with your mother, with your single mother or grandmother or your guardian? I'm not trying to gender this out, but we all came from somewhere. And our attachment instincts are very much affected by that. Yep. And some of us like to play a mythological game to think that we're not affected by stepdad or maybe play things that don't feel so good. And those don't disqualify us, but they do influence us. That's part of training. And then secondly, just your basics of responsive patterns. And then the big one is, how far along are you in your model? If we're compromised in any one of those 3 or 4 areas, then you don't want to use yourself too much. That's what I love about you. You're someone who really lives congruently in your personal life. I'm sure you're not perfect, just like the rest of us, but you're a pretty transparent, authentic person, and you're very experienced. And then you quadruple down in knowing your model. And when that's the case, don't think about nothing, right? Just I mean, that's Arkansas for Roger's quote there. I don't want to try to make them do anything. I can show up and look them in the eye And if I can link up my nervous system to theirs, now the next thing that's going to come forward out of my body is going to be attuned and it's going to be on map. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Ryan, I love what you just did, because I do want to have that caution too. There can be, we talked about this on another episode, there could be a beautiful side that's full of light and good, but you have to watch out for the shadow side.
Yeah.
Because even though I do this, that doesn't mean that every instinct moment that I have comes out. Because there's sometimes it comes up in me and I'm like, ooh, that's my stuff. Hold that for a moment. That's not really them. Hold that, hold that, hold that. And you say, how do I know? Because for me,
that's exactly what I was going to say.
An image will pop up in my mind, whether it's my wife, whether it's someone I had a rough attachment part with me. And what I say to myself, that's not my client's burden to carry. That's mine. Sometimes, if I'm honest, maybe I'm saying too much on the airwaves here, I might write a little note from myself in my notepad in front of me, and I might circle it, and that means, James, you go deal with that later.
Oh.
That's yours. That's
Nice.
not theirs. You go deal with that.
Well, personal note there.
Exactly.
All right, that's a good.
And that's one way I give my body permission to kind of like hold it. Like, I don't have to let it take my attention. I wrote it down, and I can come back to that later.
And that's part of why you're as good as you are. Because look at the humility that James has to do to be this, Ph.D., all these qualifications and 77 letters behind your name. And yet you're still willing to circle something on a notepad to say, hey, here's another piece of growth.
It's hard. It's hard. I mean, when you're sitting with other human beings who are doing their work, can I just be honest with you? It's going to expose where you still need work sometimes. And it's not saying that therapists have to be perfect, because you don't. You just have to be willing to confront your dark side, just like our clients are confronting theirs.
Yeah. I want to say one more thing about that. And I fear it's coming across, I fear my qualifiers coming across like brakes. I just want to throw one more sentence at it, and then I want to get back into the good part of this, because I so agree with what you're saying. I did have it was a friendship years ago, and it was kind of playful, but she had been through a lot, and she would often say, my spidey senses are telling me, my spidey senses are telling me. And again, it was kind of playful, and she was sort of trusting her body's instincts, but looking back on it, it was actually her trauma, right? Her trauma was informing. Right. And when your trauma is in a sort of an unprocessed place, we like to believe it's behind us, but really you're seeing it everywhere in front of you.
Yep.
Which is proper brain functioning, but not well discerned.
That's right.
So it is important that we trust our body, but in a discerned way.
That's it.
Not necessarily that everything that comes forward is going to be accurate about, well, everything is accurate, but not necessarily accurate in the room right now.
That's right. Exactly right.
Yeah.
So with that, I do learn to let it inform me and guide me, but I'm always running that checks and balances. And so there is a part. So I want to get practical with it. So one of the practical things I do is slow down. And I know that sounds strange, but so if I kind of start getting a sense man, is this for the client or is this for me? I've learned to just hold your finger out. Well, if you're not in the studio, just hold one finger out. Say, hold on a second. Can I just process this? Because, wow, this is hitting me, and I want to make sure I'm on track with you. And I'm kind of trying to get my mind right for what we're going to do next. And I'll run it through me. Now, everybody's going to be different here. Like, some people have a paradigm maybe where they believe in a higher power that they can consult with. They might call in an attachment figure. I mean, there's times where it feels like I'd be in session and I'm having a consultation with George, because I'm almost like running things he's taught me through my head, or even Chad or you or Sue, right? And so there is a place where you can pause and you can think about it, and it only takes about 10, it could take anywhere from 5 to 10 seconds just to check it if it's something you need to run or go somewhere else. So I think it's good. You don't just have to act. You can take time and evaluate and ask for a second to consider it.
I like that. That's a little mini model right there.
Exactly.
So what I hear you saying, which I like, is whatever comes up for you, you're paying attention to it, because it would be so easy to be going somewhere and miss where you are.
Exactly.
So no matter what's coming up with you, you're paying attention, but it's a discernment process.
100%. Right.
So that's an underrated thing that you just said, which is to pause.
Yes.
I've worked with a lot of people, and they are never bothered by saying, hang on just a minute, this is important. In fact, it's a compliment. It's literally my body saying, you're so important that I want to take a moment and make sure that the next move is right.
Exactly.
And so something comes up for you, and you're filtering it just a hair. And you might, so here's some options that came out of what you just said. Like, I might just write it down and circle it. I'll call it the self circle.
Ooh.
Right. Which is like, all right, I'm going to go talk to Chad about that one. Like, man, I kept thinking about my stepdad there. and I was getting mad at that guy, and maybe there's something that's happening for me self-wise. Great.
Yep.
Or you may just need to co-regulate that.
Yep.
Think about Sue or your faith, your relationship with God, or however it is that you make sense of the world and regulate, or you might use it.
That's right. Now, going to the use it part, this is what I do. I'll put out a lot. I use safety around it. And what I might say something like, hey, something's coming up in me, and I feel like it's coming from this place with you, going back to the trigger, Ryan likes that. Like right when you said that, it kind of hit my nervous system, and it's informing me in this way. Can I just run it past you to see if this is a good option for us? And if not, it's okay. We can knock that down, and there's something else we can go to. So I do a lot of like kind of safety things built around it, and I wish I could take complete credit for that. I saw Sue do it in a session. Sue even said it to the couple. She's like, hey, I just met you, and I can see that there's a lot for us to do, and I want to kind of save us some time. So I'm going to take some big jumps. If my jumps are too big, let me know. And I was like, oh, you can do that? You can say those kind of things? And so Sue just put some safety around it to say, hey, I'm going to be taking some risk here. And the reason why I'm taking a risk is because I can see you're close to the finish line, and our time is running out. If my jumps are too big, correct me. So I think that's another thing I say. If I feel an idea coming up in me or an image coming up in me that is coming up in my nervous system, I put all those cautions around it so my client can say, no, that's not for me. That's you, James. And I'm like, my bad. I'll file that away for later. Back with you.
Right. So what comes up in the body of the therapist can have different effects is kind of what I'm hearing you say there.
Yep.
Sometimes it might be a direction.
Yep.
It might be like, here's what's coming up for me. Do we want to go there? Can we go there? Or let's go there, depending on how assertive you need to be in the moment. Or it can certainly have the heightening, deepening effect. Either one it can be. Is that fair?
That's right. Yes, that's fair. Very fair.
And how do you know the difference?
Ooh, if it can have a heightening or deepening effect?
Or directional.
Ooh, this is the funny thing with George in that one. So the first thing I want to check is this really in service of them, or is this something I need to go take care of?
So back to discerning or filtering.
If it is with them, go ahead and try it. Try it out, but then that's where you have to watch your intervention and you have to pay attention. So for me, maybe this is another James thing. I need a lot of eye contact with my clients. So some people say, James, your look is so intense. Well, the reason is because I'm watching all your little micro mannerisms to tell how is this going. And so I'm looking for, if I'm saying something and you start wincing or kind of like, or whatever, I'm like, okay, this maybe is not taking us the direction we want to go. And I'll check that with them like, hey, I noticed as I said that something kind of hit. What happened right there? Am I kind of off with you, or is something else coming up? And I'll check it. And if it's like it's taking us a different direction, I'll say, that's on me, my bad. It's weird, therapist, throw that one out. And then that's what George would call it, is then I pivot and I'll reset. If it's working though, I'm not going to say anything about it. That's where James and Ryan knows he'd help me with this one. That's where if it really hits and it changes, the next thing you're probably going to hear James go is, wow, so that's it, huh? If that intuition part of me worked, I'm like, oh, so that's it. And then the image that comes up I've never told anyone this. Y'all are the first ones that get to hear it. The picture that comes up in my mind is I start putting out a picnic blanket on warm green grass, and we're about to open up the basket, and we're gonna sit down and have a meal together.
Love it.
And we ain't coming off that blanket.
And I do love picnics. So.
But you don't like cold sandwiches.
Sandwiches.
Sorry, told a secret about Ryan.
That's good. I love it.
Yeah.
I love that, though. It's like, hey, I'm going to contain a space here, and there's a basket, and now my body's giving me an accurate message. So now we're going to unpack this thing.
So can I give you one more thing, Ryan, why this really hits me, Ryan? I'll be in trainings you and I are, and someone will ask me a question about a particular case or something like that, and I'll say, hey, could you go ahead and be the client? Or something like that. Well, anyway, let me go to this part. And they'll start telling me. And I was like, hey, and as you feel that right now, even as you tell me, and you see that moment again, what is your body telling you right now? What your body would, if you had it all over again, the client's right in front of you, what is your body saying it wants to do, or what would it want to say? And then they'll say it to me. I'm like, that was brilliant. And guess what? I didn't come up with the answer. The answer was already inside of you. You just got to learn how to find that answer inside of you and give it a chance to breathe. And if it works, great, keep going with it. And if it doesn't work, pivot.
Beautiful. Love it. And this is a reminder, and sorry if I'm taking what you're saying and make it too basic, but it's something that it's easy to forget. So maybe this is Ryan reminding Ryan. You know, the good old truth, when you're using yourself to deepen and heighten emotion, remember, your clients often don't actually feel their emotion until they see it back in your eyes. And that is such a big thing. And, you know, because the emotion is there, but it's not really there.
Yeah.
Like it's oftentimes your use of self, you're trusting your instincts, you trying the pain on, and you know your go-to move of like, I don't even do it right, you know. But that's when I watch your sessions when it like explodes, and like what was that? And it's so powerful. It's tempting to say, "Oh, forget all that cycle stuff," and like nope. Because if you have these deep moments and we don't have any cycle places, there's no stability, no structure. Then even deepening doesn't stick. We need both.
That's right.
But there's no replacing those moments.
Ryan, I love what you just said. And you make me, I got to give credit to two more friends of ours. One of them being Lisa Palmer Olson. And I love her talk about how EFT is a lot of emotional work, but it's cognitive. And so it is constantly rocking you like cognitively and understanding, but also limbically. So yes, I do a lot of that stuff, but I also have learned you've got to have order and structure, because you don't want to deepen somebody if you don't have that kind of structure to hold it in place. Two, I want to give a shout out to Catherine Ream. And one of the quotes she used to say that I heard her say is, we temporarily lend our limbic system to our clients until they can find their own. So one, let me go, I think this goes back to a caution you were saying earlier. I'm not ever trying to get my clients to live with my nervous system. That would be crazy. Maybe that's not the best way to say that, forgive me, but that wouldn't be a good idea. So what I'm really trying to do is say the method behind what I'm doing is I'm using my limbic system as a model in the session, one, to pace me, because I can really get ahead of if I'm not allowing my nervous system to feel it, Ryan, I can run way ahead of my clients. But two, I am trying to let them to befriend their own nervous system. And part of the way they can befriend their nervous system, if they can't do it inside of them, they can do it as they see it come alive in James. In some ways, that's part of the method to what I'm doing there.
It does so many things, actually.
I see Ryan's brain.
It does. I just start thinking about 12 layers to that, which I probably can't come up with off the spot. But, you know, I think about Sue, I think about Gail and their great work and how much they focused on reflection. And I remember being a young EFTer, and I'm like, yeah, reflection. And it's like, no, you didn't get it at all, right? I mean, yes, I knew what reflection was, but I didn't recognize that it's neuroscience with mirror neurons, and that it slows it down, and that it's using your body's attachment instincts to move the process along. It's fully being with people, and then the piece of them experiencing you is what helps them move into experience. So I was at a weekend seminar years ago as a client. It wasn't really therapy. It was like what would that be called? An enrichment seminar or something. Anyway, and there was this person who told this story before, and I'd heard their story. But the leader, the therapist who was doing it, did such a beautiful job that this person just broke into tears. And then we were talking. She was like, I don't know why that hit me so much. And the therapist said, because someone was truly witnessing your pain. When someone truly witnesses your pain, it changes the pain. Right. Oftentimes before that, it's just a story. I knew the person's story, but I did not know their heart. So that's a big distinction.
Wow, there was a couple nuggets in that one too, right?
Yeah.
Wow, that's good. And you know, there's another part I want to go into this when I'm saying your instinct, because the thing Ryan said too was good earlier about caution. So I want to go back to part of my instinct earlier, if I'm honest, when I was still doing some of my own personal work. I would want to move away from emotion, so I couldn't trust that. But what I've learned to do, here's maybe another way to say it too, is know your tells. And I think I got that term from Rebecca Jorgensen or somebody like that, like know your tells. So part of it is what I also know now is if I study me, and if I start leaning back away from energy, I know I've coached myself so much to lean towards energy. That's also, if you see my work and I do validations, it's because I had to master that, because my other instincts, as I was still kind of healing and growing, would be to move away from big energy.
Yeah.
So I had to retrain my nervous system to befriend that energy and move towards it.
Yeah. Nice.
So I think it's like, you're right. It's not always just trust your instincts. My body says move away.
Right.
But then it's like, but why is your body, I had to go, James, why does your body move away from big energy? Oh, because it hasn't been safe.
Yeah.
Because you're scared of failing. You want to keep things in a cognitive, safe frame. So now I had to retrain those instincts
There
to
you
be
go.
attuned.
Trust your instincts and train your instincts.
There we go. That's
You
what we
can't
should title it.
You can't separate those two.
Trust your instincts and train your instincts. That's going to be the title of this
That's
one
right.
now.
That's right. So again, and I'm not just saying this to patronize, you're one of the best using your instincts, use of self people in the world. Excuse me. What comes to mind is I want to give a shout out to Megan Jones as well.
Ah, yeah.
Two with Megan. She's a supervisor in Arkansas.
Yeah.
She's funny. We know what I was a part of her journey. She was learning EFT, and I was learning it too. But she did some funny things, and she's a funny person. But she said, when I'm learning EFT, my first 4 years, I had to just do the opposite of everything I felt.
Yep. She taught me that lesson.
It was a good move because, again, her body would sense danger, which actually that's EFT saying move towards it. So, but what her body wanted to do was to go away from it. So like for years, she was just like, when I felt something dangerous and I want to move back, I just like turn it around in my chair and go right at it.
Yep.
It's not a bad thought. It's a different version of use of self. So it's not always about do whatever you feel. It's
That's
train and tune.
I like that, Ryan. I'm glad you helped me find it with that one. But it is, you got to train it.
Yeah.
So that's things like I remember early, what I would do to train my instinct is if I felt the back of my chair when a pursuer elevated, I'd be like, why did your back touch the chair, James? What was happening there? Why didn't you lean into the validation? Another thing I used to see as an error is I wouldn't give their emotion proper room. I would try and make it smaller. Like, well, this is kind of scary. We kind of get mad here. Because I'm like trying to talk it down. Now I've learned to like, this just pisses us off. This is like a really bad place. And fully like lean into it and not kind of play it halfway.
Yeah. That was my group in Florida in November. They started coining the term, which is really strange. I'd never heard it before. And then 2 other groups have said it. And I'm like, I must be changing how I'm teaching this. So you can't see this in our studio today, but as James is saying those last few things, his whole body's moving. And so they said, and so someone in Miami or whatever that was, Boca, the first time said, oh, when you say things like RV or rave, you mean a full body reflection, like I do indeed. That's exactly what I mean. I want it to wash over your whole body because this is the moment we don't want to miss. And so that's what James was doing. You can't see it. We don't have it on video, I don't think. But it's a lot of movement going on. He's just talking to me. Like he's not even meaning to do that. So he is dress rehearsing that attunement. One more shout out to Megan Jones, which puts some, I don't know, skin or whatever on this point. I was watching her do a session maybe 4 or 5 years ago. It's a long story what the session was. Excuse me. And she was doing a good job. And, she's probably 40 minutes in. It's a heterosexual couple who's I can't remember if they had a miscarriage.
Yeah, I remember
or
that
maybe
session.
a child die. But anyway, it was a good session. She could have wrapped it at 40 minutes, and it was nice tangos and, good EFT. And she's been doing this a while. And so what was happening is the woman in this couple was very, very active. She was kind of a finish the mission sort of thing. The man in the couple, which, can get into some cultural stuff, was feeling a pressure. He was appropriate, nothing wrong, but he was feeling pressure to, quote, be strong. And Megan felt like, there's more room here to go after this thing. And she says, this is her talking about it later. She said, I don't know that the wife here really was able to feel his grief. Right. And so she kept going to him and she was trying to do a form of assembly, and he would kind of like give her yes buts. Right. Or a little bit of tear, a little bit of something, but another yes but. And she did a great move, which is to just lean towards him. And she just started grieving for him for the loss of that child. She was using self. She was using tears, and he couldn't hold back at that point. He saw her. He saw, and not just an intervention, but he saw her authentically use herself, her heart, to let her heart be broken for that lost baby. And boom. And here another huge round of emotion came in, and now the wife is like, whoa. And they really connected. That's a real bonding moment. And it was all around use of self. So that was a real nice, poignant example of what I think you're saying.
Good job, Coach, recalling that play. That was really good. Shout out, Megan. Seriously, I get to do intensives as a co-therapist with Megan,
right.
so I get to see it. I get to get the front row seat of the show. So for
yeah, that's two pretty good therapists doing intensives. So I don't know if I want to advertise that or not, but they do a bunch. And they do it as couples too.
Yep, that's right. That's right. Yep.
You kind of go back and forth of who's talking, and
it's amazing how we like in this. It's that part where it's like we're both kind of operating in that same vein of really allowing the couple's experience to run through us in front of them. It's been powerful. It's really cool.
Last question for you then. You know, this is something that's I would imagine it's both natural and intentional, right? I mean, because you're tired. And, you know, you just got out of Alaska and traveling all over, and we're getting off of planes and then doing the live the next day or whatever. How do you've kind of mentioned this, but I'm just curious, what's your internal process to make sure that you're ready to trust your instincts, to listen, to use yourself? How do you, what's your intentional side to use the natural side?
That's good, right? So I do have a place where I kind of call it like kind of cleansing the inside, where I kind of like whatever is like what I'm worried about, whether it's tech, something with the group, my family back home while I'm out training. And I have a place where I kind of like, I set it all in a container in a way, and I set it to a side, and it'll be there waiting for me when I'm in the live. So that way I can, it reminds me of my military days, sorry you all. But in the military, we also say like, handle your business so you don't think about it on the battlefield. Because that's the last, we don't need you thinking about the car note getting paid when things get heated. So I have to kind of like find a way to put all those things that I care about and put them in a box for that hour. And I commit my nervous system to saying, do nothing but take them in. And so even when I talk to the therapist about the client, and this is Catherine Ream, shout out again, as they tell me the story, I don't just leave it as data points. I almost have to see it in a movie form. And as I'm watching the movie and I watch their cycle play out, I'm like, man, I wonder what that does to them. What must it be like to be in love with this person and to keep having this happen over and over and over again? And I let that be in my body and live with me. And then when I go into session, I look at them, I watch them, I start learning them. And I feel like there's a point where it's like all of a sudden, it's almost like the Minuchin effect. I become a part of their world temporarily, and I'm in it with them. So I'm letting my body feel it. We do this at some of our core skills. We do the washover exercise. In the first few moments, this is what Ryan challenged me with in Memphis, by the way, is just be with them for at least the first 10 minutes. Just let your body be with them. And yes, there's in the lives, they're nervous and everything. But there's a part where I start learning their smile. I start watching their eye gaze. I start watching their breathing pattern. And all of that starts linking me with them. And I look for I look for all kind of ways to be in their world. I find out how many kids they have, what their names are, what their pets are. I like to know about my clients' hobbies because that helps inform the images and metaphors I use. I think about significant things that are cultural for them that I can help bring into the therapy process. And I love to always find out about what made them not one, only go see a therapist, but then what made them be willing to see me as a consult, as a stranger. And I work off of their hope.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That's nice.
I've never talked that all the way out. That's
cool. I like that. And you're using what's already present, like they're already showing you.
Exactly.
These longings and
that's right.
our drive. All right. And I don't think use of self actually leads someone to burnout. But I do think it requires of you that restarting. So I want to say thank you, therapists out there, for using that energy to be like, hey, I'm not just going to go do therapy 2 people today and teach them some skills. I'm going to really use me.
Yeah.
So EFT is a model that requires that. EFT is not very effective unless you're doing that.
That's right.
And so thank you for putting your heart in this.
You know, and I want to give one more thing on that, Ryan, because this shout out to Atlanta. I just got back from there. Phenomenal things happen in that community. So thankful for their leaders, the board. And I also want to give a shout out to Michael Barnett. You know, he built that community up. And Michael, if you ever get to hear this, I can still see the legacy of your work. So thank you for what you did there.
I think Michael's listening to every episode.
He's a busy guy. By the way, he's got his EFT and addictions workbook, so you should pick that up.
That's good stuff.
I've got 2 copies in my house. I don't know how that happened. Maybe my wife ordered one, I ordered one. So there you go, Mike. We just need your autograph. Anyway, but when I was there in Atlanta and someone asked a question about that, they're like, Oh, I jumped ahead because people usually ask that at externships. Doesn't this wear you out? Here's what I found out, Ryan. Emotions are always happening in your session, whether you're directly working with them or not. In other therapy modalities that I did that didn't kind of make space for that use of that emotion, what I found was happening to me, Ryan, was I was going home with all of my clients' emotions still loaded in my body because I didn't get to use it throughout the day. What I find in EFT, in some of this use of self and transparency work that I do with my clients, I feel like my body gets to burn it off. I don't know if that sounds like I get to put it to use so it's not still trapped in my body in some ways. Now, that's not saying like, once again, I'm unaffected. I'm not trying to be like, superhuman being over here kind of thing. But I do feel like, whoa, I'm getting to actually use emotion in session so it's not trapped inside of me. So that's a little one out there. But I also want to join Ryan in saying thank you for all that you all do. I said this to the Atlanta group. It's not lost on me what you all pay to come to EFT trainings. It's not lost on me the commitment of not being with your clients and being in clinic. Then you also give up time with your friends and family and loved ones. But it tells me, it just really touches my heart that there are therapists who are that committed to their craft to say, I'm going to set off an intensive amount of time and work on this and do a model that calls me to come forward as a human being. Thank you for what you're doing. And even if you don't, you say you've never been to an EFT training, if you're listening to this podcast, you don't have to do it. There's plenty of other fun ones to listen to that are very comical, entertaining, but you're listening to this, so thank you. If you're on your walk right now, if you're in the commute, I just want you're doing a good thing. Like, you are a legend. I used to listen to this one YouTuber, and at the end of it, he would always be like, and remember, you're a legend.
You're definitely a star.
Yep.
All right, so train your instincts so you can trust your instincts. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you for listening. We hope this experience helps you push the leading edge in your work to help people connect with themselves and with each other. Please subscribe to our podcast and leave us a 5-star review. You can contact us at pushtheleadingedge@gmail.com, and you can follow us on our Facebook page at Push the Leading Edge. You can follow Ryan on Facebook at Ryan Rana Professional Training and on his website, ryanranatraining.com. You can follow James on Facebook and Instagram at DocHawkLPC. You can also check out his website, DocHawkLPC.com.